Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. And as always, thank you for all your support, including sharing, chatting, liking, and subscribing. Now roll that famous logo animation! Good evening and welcome back to Computerized Start Live. I am your host, Justin D. Morgan, and I was just in time tonight. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Actually, I was at my neighbor's house, like I said. Today is a foggy, drizzly day, and we'll just say that A, I'm thankful that Grandpa told me how to back down a driveway without hitting anything, and B, I wish I could say I was able to do it in one attempt without having to go forward, correct course, and start backing up again, but no. As I said, it was a foggy night, and yeah, I didn't want to, drive off the side of my neighbor's driveway. That would have not been very nice of me. All right, well, let's see here who we have in the chat who did not drive off of, miss their way driving, hopefully. We have Francois. Hi, Francois. Yeah, that was a bad transition. I'll think of another one. Thomas Armstrong. Yeep. Hi, Thomas. We have Jeremy's Vintage Hillbilly Shack. Hi, Jeremy. Well, you're third by my count. We have Jesse I8386SX. Number 4. Yes, just in time. Francois says, just in timey-wimey. Yes. We're all watching Mike's mess and his messy cat anyways. Yes. Well, I wanted to get home from my neighbors safely. Yeah, Garth says, oh, hi, Garth. Garth says, watch out for that dinosaur behind you. Yes. Yes, I haven't managed to bump it so that it, faces another direction. Yeah, I kind of like that angle. Hopefully I can not run into it. Francois says, Justin, don't turn your head, but there's a dinosaur ready to eat you behind you. Yes. And boy, would I be full, because we had our goodie day at work today, so I had lots of goodies at work, and then the invitation from my neighbor for dinner, and yeah, I'm full. So let's see here. Also, what else do we have? All right, let's start with things you all have sent me. Yes, if the dinosaur gets hungry, it will eat well. All right, so things you all have sent me tonight. We have an envelope. And I think it will become apparent who sent this to me once I open it, so I will leave the surprise. All right, this narrows the list down considerably now, because we have fan feed paper. And Jeremy says, and the winner is... All right, we've got Happy Holidays from Retro Tech or Die. From my family to yours, Happy Holidays, Apple II forever. So, thank you, Mike, for the 2024 Christmas card. I will hang this on my refrigerator proudly. So, yes, this was actually printed on a color dot matrix printer, and I believe he live streamed printing these. So, anyways, thank you, Mike. I decided I would open that on stream. And then, of course, it's that time that I know you all wait for, because what would be a live stream without...
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our favorite segment, Wheel of Regrets. Here's your host, Justin D. Morgan.
Hey, who comes up with these titles anyway?
All right. And we start off with the package that I left upstairs the other day. and said, well, forget it. I'll open it next time. Well, it is now next time. And we have... Oh, we've got priority mail packing. Therefore, you know it came from an eBay seller. Whoop, whoop. We have a packing list. All right, let's extract the packing list before I accidentally show something. Ah, thanks for your purchase. I hope you love it. Oh, okay. There's no address on that side, but anyways, that kind of gives away what this is. From Mr. Auction Guy. Oh, hi, Steven Anderson. Welcome. You just joined in time for some Wheel of Regrets. So this one I didn't have downstairs Thursday because I forgot to grab the package and I didn't feel like going upstairs for it. So, even says just me on my gaming Linux computer, Manjaro Cinnamon. Ah, awesome. And we have 4 memory modules. Yay! From, I don't know, never heard of this company. Oh. Alpha Omega. So I guess they were the first and last name in memory upgrades. Or something like that. I don't know what their slogan was. I can tell you one thing, I'm not sure they consistently placed their labels on their modules, because this one has the label on the wrong side. Whatever. I don't know. Okay, so we've got some memory modules. I don't remember which computer I necessarily bought these for, but, well, there they are. I got memory modules. I might put them in the IBM PC350 because I think it could use a little bit more than 16 megabytes for some of the OSs I'd like to run on it. All right. And then the next item I opened because, oh yeah, I was curious about it. And we are not going to look at this further tonight, but this is a sneak preview for Thursday's live stream. So, I think I might have fallen for a low price on eBay before I really thought about this, but we have an Intel Overdrive processor, or a PODP, despite what it might look like it says if you look at it too quickly. And it has some bent pins, so I get to fix that. But it also has a broken pin, and the seller seems to think they broke it trying to straighten pins or put it into, like, foam. But I think that pin is actually supposed to be missing. But is it? Well, we'll find out Thursday, so there's your tempting hint. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And before anyone wonders, okay, first of all, I think on Dave's stream, I forgot that you push the fan in, the clip in to remove it. So if anyone's wondering, no, it's only the 63 megahertz version. It's also kind of dusty, but anyways, I probably paid under the usual going value because the seller thought they'd broken a pin, but I think it was broken by Intel before shipping. And I don't normally treat Wikipedia as an authoritative source, but, well, I looked at the Intel datasheet for this processor, And it does seem as if there's supposed to be a pin, no pin where that pin is broken. So maybe in this case, Wikipedia's right that Intel had to break a pin before shipping it because they added one too many pins to the bottom of the processor package. How embarrassing. Of course, I think that's because they kept changing the specifications for the processor. After all, there were some computers that required an interposer to install those Intel Overdrive processors because apparently Intel kept changing the specification. Yes, we have some bathroom humor in the chat, and I'm opting to not. I am laughing inside. All right, and finally, we have one last package of Wheel of Regrets. Thank you, Intel, for coming up with an acronym for processor overdrive something something. Yeah, POD, processor overdrive, or a Pentium overdrive processor, probably. PODP. But finally, we have, oh wow, it's bigger than I thought it might be. It's not a Trident card, sorry, Francois. But it might come in handy tonight. We have a multi-function I/O card. Yes, we had some facts about Elvis in the chat. So this is a DTK Hexa I/O Plus card. And I think the Hexa probably refers to like 6, because I think there's 6 functions on the card. And what are those functions? We have, oh, actually I think this might be a SEPTA for 7, because I bet DTK didn't imagine that dead bug trapping was one of its features. Oh wait, that may just be a bit of cardboard. Okay, I guess it only has 6 features. All right, because we have, Francois says, no Trident, I guess I can go to bed. Oh, hi, Frogman, welcome. Frogman laughs, yes. We have floppy, so there's function number 1. We have serial, which is function number 2, although I think you can add a second UART here. We have a game controller, so I believe that's function 3, or possibly 4, depending on if you count these as separate features. We have parallel, so that's 4 or 5. Yep, I guess they are counting both serials, even if it doesn't ship with it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know which chips are responsible for the game controller. 5. There's the parallel. And then 6. Because it's got a real-time clock on it. A UM82C8167 based real-time clock. It's like advertised as a 4-year no-leap real-time clock, something or other. Luckily, the driver's out there on -0 degrees. Yeah. Yeah, Francois says, Lilu Dallas multifunction. Yes. So I've got my Lilu Dallas multifunction card that'll come in handy. Luckily, the real-time clock battery was removed, so it didn't have a chance to leak. Although it was a coin cell, so it was less likely to leak. I do believe that is actually something more like a CR 2450 than it is a CR 2032, because that does look awfully large in diameter. Let's pull out the calipers and measure that. So the 50. Oh. Am I measuring it wrong? 24. Oh, maybe that's not. Maybe that is just a CR2032. No, despite the fact that I measured that at 22 millimeters, I think that is like a CR24, because I think the first number refers to the diameter. So I think that is a 24, and then the second number refers to the height in millimeters times 10, basically. Yeah, Jesse says CR2450 was common in the day, followed by its less common cousin CR2430. Yeah, the first number is the diameter in millimeters. And then the second number is the thickness in in millimeters times 10, or basically 2 digits remove the decimal place. So a CR2032 is going to be 20 millimeters in diameter and 3.2 millimeters thick. So a 2450 is going to be 24 millimeters in diameter and 5 millimeters thick. The 2430 would be 24 millimeters in diameter and 3 millimeters thick. So, should be able to tell by the height of this plastic and the fact that the 2032 felt a bit loose, I suspect. Well, no, that actually kind of does look like that maybe is not supposed to be a CR2450, because that looks like that would be way too thick for that battery holder. So I bet this is actually a 2430. But Jesse says there's 2 variants of the 2450 as well. I may have to look it up. Maybe. Francois says no result on the retro web. Yeah, I don't think the retro web has this card. I will definitely take a photo of it and send some info to them. I'm not too worried about the card, though. I mean, I do see that there's 2 chips missing here that are marked 1488 and 1489. And I'm not sure exactly what those are supposed to be, but I'm going to presume they're supposed to be missing. It's also possible that if I install a UART, I need to populate those. And maybe it might be obvious what those are supposed to be. There's probably two chips here somewhere that I'll probably find. Go to this UART. But anyways, Jesse says I don't know how to explain the differences in YouTube chat. That's okay. Yeah, Francois says 8250B is definitely a UART. Yes. So I think this is for another UART. So anyways, I don't know if this card works, but I thought it was cool because it had this game controller and the possibility of 2 serial ports. I think I have some 8250s, so populating this will not be a problem, but I will have to figure out what these are supposed to be, and my first guess is take a look at the board around the serial port, see if there's any other 4, 6, 8, 10, 14 pin chips, and maybe see if they're related to the serial port. That'd be my guess. Could be a driver chip or something. Anyways, I'm not going to worry about the second serial port tonight, but I probably will need the floppy controller to test now that we're out of Wheel of Regrets, because I have no more. Oh, wait, I have one more regret. But I think I'll save it till Thursday because it's 9:30 and I kind of want to get to, get busy recapping here. So, yes, I have plenty of tantalum capacitors, hopefully. Because I have from, and I think I showed this on Wheel of Regrets last month. I bought from eBay, the place where I buy the things I later regret. I bought an XT motherboard, or planer, or system board, or whatever IBM decides to call it a given particular day. I want to say that I might have found this board for like 50 or 60 bucks. And Windows, you don't need to bedupe me to let me know that the antivirus is not running at this moment. My antivirus already told me that it was restarting. Thank you for noticing. I don't leave this computer running all the time, so it inevitably updates antivirus signatures while I'm streaming. Well, I guess at least it's updating them. Oh, okay. I guess I was wrong. I thought I paid like 60 bucks plus shipping. But then again, it looks like I paid $72 free shipping, so I guess it's probably about a wash. Anyways, we have an XT planer, or I put planer on the thumbnail because I didn't have room for motherboard. System board also wouldn't have fit. But I took a gamble when I saw the listing because they took awful photos and I could not quite make out what this text said. But given the fact that it appeared to have a jumper here that was installed, and the fact that it had a chip here installed, I was pretty sure it was actually a 256 to 640K system board. So there we go. This is one of the later XT system boards. And it is fully populated with 640K of RAM. Now, some of this RAM I don't trust any further than I can throw it. And I'm an awful thrower of things, even lightweight RAM chips. And besides, it would go in the sus chip bag if they're bad anyways. So, yeah, it's also, I mean, at least they don't have Apple logos on them, but yeah, kind of sus. We may be burning a diagnostic ROM for this board. But there was one other thing that I found interesting about this board, and I could not make it out in the photographs. I knew IBM had a license from Intel to be a second source, because I've seen IBM 386s and 486s, and some of those are based on Intel designs. Because Intel actually gave them, like, not only did they have a license to second source the chips, but it was actually like a slightly nicer license that IBM could actually make derivative designs. That's, I think, how the IBM 486 SLC chips came around. Because those are actually like Intel started as an Intel processor and then IBM added cache or something like that. Anyways, IBM apparently had a sweet license deal with Intel. But I did not realize that IBM was a second source for 8088 processors, but here we are. That is quite clearly an IBM 8088 in this board. So I kind of thought that was pretty cool because I think this is the first time I've seen an IBM 8088. So I guess if anyone's wondering, I'll show some of the probably more important chips. So, okay, it looks like we do have, I don't know what version of the ROM this is, but if anyone's curious, there's the ROM chips. So with this design of the board, it was, I think, 2 32K ROMs or something like that. So if anyone wants to look it up, there those are. I think largely all the other chips are like, there's the AMD clock chip. These are NEC I think one of those is the DMA controller, and the other's some chip or other. Yeah, that is a lot of that's a lot of text on a chip. I agree with you, Francois. So anyways, there you go. And I guess if anyone's curious, there's some of the other important chips there. Oh, it looks like an Intel one, the 8259, the 8253. Yeah, that's the 8237 and the 8255. So if anyone kind of notices anything interesting about any of those chips. So it looks like the 512K of RAM is Mitsubishi, and then the extra 128K is MT RAM. Although they are dated 86, so maybe this is late enough we won't have issues with it. Because this is going to be a later 8 XT board. Anyways, there we go. Now, some YouTubers would just power this board right up and experience the consequences. But I know better because IBM undersized their tantalum capacitors. After all, why do I have 105 of the same value tantalum capacitors right here? These are just a different part. I apparently ordered much more wisely that I don't have to bend the legs back to put them in the board. In a computer that I probably showed off before I ever had a Wheel of Regret segment, this would have probably been last year, I bought an Emerson 8800 EC that is currently, I can't power it up because the power supply is dead. Oh, hi, Jason. Welcome. Yeah, I've got Bomb. Bomb says, quite a nice Wheel of Regret segment. Yes. So I have a regret from last year that I'll have to check a trace because I've noticed there's a little bare spot of copper. But I have an IBM CGA board that was in an Emerson computer that I had bought that the board didn't actually quite fit in the case properly. So this board actually has a slight warp to it. So hopefully that warp is not bad enough that the board does not work. Overall, the board does appear to be in good condition. However, there are several tantalum capacitors that I am not going to trust. Again, because they're going to be the same under spec value that IBM used as are on the planar. In fact, some of these tantalum capacitors have interesting little marks on them. Like that one right there looks a little sus. I'm actually kind of wondering if maybe that one's actually already popped or something. But I also note there's a bare spot of copper there. So let's take a look at that under the microscope. There may be a minor repair required on this one. We'll also look at that tantalum capacitor too. Now, I guess for those of you not in the know, oh, okay, it looks like there's a couple pock marks in the solder mask, but it looks like that trace is probably intact. You know, quite honestly, that kind of looks like... Is it me, or does that look like there's a thin piece of copper tape on the board? Like, maybe that's an original fix to the board? Because that sure looks like a piece of copper tape with some, like... I think that's a copper tape trace repair, and that was not me, so... Maybe all I need to do is put something over that copper just to kind of protect it a little more, but maybe that's not a trace. Yeah, Gutpump says copper trace repair. Hi, Thomas. Welcome. All right, and let's look at this tantalum capacitor. I'll take you on a little ride here. Oh, okay. So does that look like that tantalum capacitor is popped? Not really. Are we zoomed in enough that the smallest of perturbations, or whatever the word I'm trying to look for, my bench are causing waviness? Oh, yeah. Are we going to remove that tantalum capacitor without testing it first? You betcha. So why are these underrated? Because you might be asking yourself, Justin, I thought the voltage rails in a computer were 5 volts, 12 volts, and their negative counterparts. Yeah, Gupum says it looks like a scratch. Yeah, probably. And you would be correct. Those are the voltage rails in a computer, or at least coming from the power supply. We won't get into the technical. The motherboard may be creating other voltages depending on its generation, but okay. From the power supply, your voltage rails are, at least in a computer that's sold, 5 volts, 12 volts, negative 5 volts, and negative 12 volts. Sure, you get closer to ATX, and there's also 3.3 volts coming from the power supply. But anyways, nothing larger than 12 volts. You might be thinking, but that tantalum capacitor says 16 volts on it. We should be fine, right? Right? Well, the problem is, it has to do with how... Francois says it looks like a spaceship cockpit. Yeah. Maybe it's the new design for spaceship. Maybe this is Spaceship 2. They'll paint it danger yellow. If I had a little marker, I'd make it look like a SpaceX tantalum capacitor. But anyways, okay, here's the problem. It has to do with how capacitors are rated, and it specifically has to do with how electrolytic capacitors are rated, and how tantalum capacitors are rated. Anyways, electrolytic capacitors are rated for at their nominal working voltage. So there is some expectation that you might have some surge currents, but granted, do you want to use an electrolytic right at its rated capacity? Probably not. You probably still want to go up a notch just to make sure you have enough headroom for surges, which, yeah, when you turn a power supply on, you may have some momentary surges while it gets into regulation. But anyways, a 16 volt electrolytic capacitor on a 12 volt rail would be totally fine. That electrolytic's probably going to be able to handle the brief momentary surges that might be above 16 volts. And even if it failed, it's usually not dramatic. Yeah, it might pop its top off and spread paper everywhere, but it's usually not that dramatic. Tantalum capacitors, on the other hand, the rating on them is their maximum voltage. They are not rated to go over that voltage. So on a 12 volt rail, 16 volts is way too close for comfort. That doesn't really give you enough headroom for brief surges. So really, I think it's for a solid tantalum capacitor, and I may have these two reversed, so you may want to do your homework to make sure I didn't reverse these. I think for a solid tantalum capacitor, you really want double the voltage. And for a polymer tantalum capacitor, I think you want like an extra 50 to 80% headroom. You don't have to go quite double on the polymers. But anyways, this is probably a solid tantalum capacitor. IBM really should have used a 25 volt rated tantalum. Yeah, as Jesse's saying, 16.01 volts, and you got fire and explosions. Yeah. And that's the other thing about tantalum capacitors. They failed dramatically. When they, now, it is not a guarantee that when a tantalum fails, it is going to explode. And granted, the explosion is going to be sized with the size of the tantalum capacitor. It's not like you got a little stick a dynamite in your computer for any size tantalum. No, no. Only the tantalum will explode, and there's only a tiny amount in this cap. But still, if this capacitor goes, it will shoot. Well, okay. Sometimes they will fail shorted, and you'll have trouble starting the system. So it's not a guarantee it's just going to, like, go bang. Sometimes they'll just short, and the power supply will go into short circuit protection mode, and you'll find, oh, I got a short on the rail. It's a tantalum capacitor, and it doesn't go on you. But inevitably, though, when they fail shorted, and when they fail shorted, they will then go pop. And you will have sparks, and the top of the capacitor will blow off, and you will have smoke. And depending on the size of the capacitor and how close it is to the PCB, you can even have it blow a crater into the PCB. Now, I don't know how often that happens. Now, for a through-hole tantalum capacitor, is it likely to blow a hole in the PCB when it goes? Sorry, forgot to turn that off before I switched to another input. Anyways, no, probably a through-hole one is probably just going to blow its top off, and it probably is not going to blow a crater in the hole. However, I have seen photos from, like, Macintosh 2FX logic boards. There were some rather large tantalum capacitors around the 64-pin SIMs. And I have seen at least one photo of where one of those capacitors went, and it blew a hole through several layers of the board, and there are traces underneath it in inner layers. So, yes, you got a surface mount tantalum capacitor, and it is large enough it can go and blow a hole in the board. The other reason why tantalum capacitors might not be used everywhere, just as you might be imagining, there are environments where you don't want to use a tantalum capacitor. For example, if you had a device that was designed for a hazardous location, that might actually be a reason why it may not have a tantalum capacitor. That's why there's options. Now, for this IBM, with all the tantalum capacitors IBM used, and yes, we're about to get to a recapping before I even power this up. Although I will check to see if there's any shorts. We will answer that question, is it shorted? But then I'm going to recap it before I even try to power it up. In your normal office environment, if a tantalum capacitor goes pop, it will startle you. You will smell electric smoke. Your computer may or may not just shut off. Depends on if it stays shorted, or it may just continue to work, even though you got a, like, tantalum incense smell. Not that really smells like something I would probably want to be made in an incense version. But, yeah, pretty much, if a tantalum capacitor went, we'd have a little fireworks show. Not really probably going to damage anything, but since I know IBM used 16-volt tantalum capacitors, I don't see any reason to tempt fate. I'm just going to go ahead and recap the board. Because I've seen enough YouTubers power these up without doing it, and they will go pop. And besides, I know you all like Claris. So, without further ado, let me start warming up Claris. Let's see here. Turn that one on. And I guess I might as well turn that one on in case I need a little hot air to preheat. And we'll turn that one on. And there we go. And away we go. Hey, Kibbs with Retro, welcome! Yes. Claris finally gets to do something after several live streams without any soldering. Oh, but I did promise you that before I do any soldering, we would see if there are any shorts on either of these boards, just to satisfy our curiosity. So, there we go. For this XT board, we will go into multimeter mode. There we go. We are in beepity beep mode. All right. We have tested that we get beeps when we are in continuity mode. All right. So these are grounds. And they are properly grounded. I will put this so that you can actually see it as well. So, yep. The grounds are properly grounded. They're all connected together. So, let's see if we got any shorts. I know it's going to be hard to see where I'm probing. Okay. Nothing there. Okay. So, at the moment... Oh, hi, SadMac356. Welcome. Okay. At the moment, this board does not have any shorts on it. Now, that is not a guarantee that if I powered it up, that it would not decide to go, something wouldn't decide to go short on me on the power up. However, there's a good chance that it probably would power up. Now, if a tantalum was failing, it may then fail during that power up, but at least if the immediate power up, it probably would not go bang immediately, but not a guarantee. After all, IBM used 16-volt tantalums. They should have used 25-volt ones, at least on the 12-volt rails. And that's why they're more prone to failing today, just because they're old. They've seen who knows how many shorts over their lifetime. Or, not shorts, power surges. Just because of being powered up. You'll see brief I'm not shorts. Brief power surges when you power up power supplies. It comes to regulation. Anyways, so all the power pins are on the back side of this card. So this is ground. This should be a ground, which I can confirm because it is connected to ground. All right, so this is a 5-volt DC. All right, that is not shorted. This is negative 5 volts. That is not shorted. Granted, the 5-volt rails usually aren't shorted. It's usually the 12-volt ones that short. So that is negative 12 volts. And that is not shorted. Now, place your bets, because the 2 more pins over is 12 volts, and it is not shorted. So we could probably power this card up, and it probably would be fine. Okay, so that's a ground pin. That's another 5-volt pin. Okay, so it would appear as if, before I start, the video card is not shorted, the motherboard is not shorted. I don't trust these tantalum capacitors any further than I can throw them, so we'll go ahead and get them replaced. Alright, there is one other thing I'm going to do, though, because it will help me get the tantalum capacitors out. So this card does have a few bent pins. I'm going to try to carefully rebend them back. They're not needed for an IBM XT. But I obviously don't want them to short into anything. I think one of these is the connector that would be for an internal monitor. Say if this video card was actually in a portable personal computer. And the other one, I'm not sure exactly what it does. It may actually be a connector for like a light pin or something. Tib says, I only trust jumper links. Eric says, oh, hi, Eric. Eric says, I don't trust any component. Well, I definitely don't trust IBM's tantalum capacitors, so we are going to remove them. Now, the one other thing I did want to double check I believe the IBM tantalum capacitors are center positive. So I think if so I've got my multimeter on something that should be grounded, connected to ground plane. So I think if I touch either the outside pins of the tantalum capacitor. Oh, I don't have deep mode turned on. But yes, that is confirmed. The two outside pins are connected to ground, which means the middle pin, yeah. Okay, they are center positive tantalum capacitors. Now you're probably thinking, what in the world are you talking about? Well, IBM, for whatever reason, used three-legged tantalum capacitors. So, yeah. So one of the pins, now this may not be universally true, but at least for the ones they used, the middle pin is positive and the two outer pin are negative. But if we look at the back side of the board, anywhere where there's a tantalum capacitor, say for example, let's see, where was this one I was looking at? Okay, sometimes it's actually on like an inner layer. I think on the CGA card it may be on an inner layer. I think on the motherboard it's a little more obvious. Or then again, maybe it's on an... Oh, it's not obvious. I was about to say, I think you can actually see the jumper link around some of them, but that may be because... Oh yeah, here we go. For example, here we go. So here's one of these three-legged tantalums here, and if you note, there's the big ground plane, and the two outer pins are connected to it. Anyways, those two ground pins are actually internally connected. So there is no worry about replacing them with just a two-legged tantalum capacitor. I think IBM did that because it would give them the option of using either two-legged or three-legged ones, depending on price of components. So let's go ahead and just remove them all here. Eric says they lie. Oh, Eric says, I don't trust 0-ohm resistors. Francois says, resistors that don't resist. Eric says, they lie. I've yet to see a 0-ohm resistor at absolute zero, so there must be some resistance. Oh, don't forget your multimeter leads have resistance, too. And really, to measure a 0-ohm resistor, you really need a milliohm meter or something like that. They actually make meters for low resistance measurements. There was at one point where I thought I'd have to buy one at work, but I didn't need to, so. Yeah, Eric says the observer influences the observation. Yes, that is definitely true there. All right, so we got one tantalum capacitor out. Luckily, they are removing quite nicely, so I'm just going to go through and get the rest out. So we've got, let's see here, how many do we have total on this board? Got 1, 2, so there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 6 more to go. All right. We've got this one here. There are large ground planes on this board. There we go. All right. Second one out. All right. The next one's here. Only problem that makes it a little hard to see where they all are is there are some places where there are 3 holes for capacitor, but IBM used like ceramics. I guess that might have been the other reason they made 3 holes, is depending on what type of capacitor they used, or I need to add some heat here. That little pin is a little more stubborn. Dwell a little longer. Oh, that might. All right, let me just add a little bit of solder to this metal pin. Okay, that was some heat. All right, so let's see if I can. All right. Here we go. We got three tantalum capacitors. Ah, ah, ah. All right, there we go. There's number 4. You know, I think I can tell that last time I used this desoldering gun, I was removing leaking electrolytic capacitors. Ask me how I know. In other words, if you know, you know. Gibbs knows. Eesh. Yes, I am smelling a fishy, kind of a burnt fishy smell, which tells me it's on the end of the desoldering tool and getting heated up by that, because tantalum capacitors don't have, well, I won't say they don't have an electrolyte, because I believe just would not be the same type as a electrolytic capacitor. I think polymer tantalum capacitors, I think, do have a polymer that might function as an electrolyte. I'd have to look up, though, because I'm not totally sure about that. But yeah, Kib says they are not fish powered. Yes, that is true. Yes, that is how I know that I'm smelling an old smell. Here we go. All right. There we go. We've got two more to go. There's one down here. Right. Again, large ground plane. A little bit of extra solder. Probably really the heat, extra heat added to the board that's more helping, because the solder that's on this board really is not that oxidized, because I don't think there's really been anything on the board to oxidize it. So I think the fresh solder is more allowing the heat in than rebalancing the solder blend so that it will desolder. Hmm. All right, in this case, I got two pins that are misbehaving. Ah, ah, ah. Just there's a big thick trace on one of them. I think there we go. I think that's all the tantalum capacitors. Let's take a look. Those are all ceramics. Yep, Those are all ceramics. Those are ceramics. There we go. All right. Let me just sanity check here. Okay, yep. Okay, they are all connected internally. Yep. All right. Just wanted to double check. Good night, Francois. Okay, so we've got 7 tantalum capacitors. And I think just to make things a little bit easier, Francois, Kim's like, Francois, it's 4, no, it's 4 a.m., Francois. It's good morning. Yeah, whew. Yeah, 4 a.m. Yeah, I knew it was late for Francois when he joins, but yeah, 4 a.m. That's so late, it's early. Yes, have a good night, Francois. Always a pleasure. All right, so you got these tantalum caps. Let's take a quick peek at how they're marked. So the old tantalum capacitors are these little spaceships, 10 microfarad, 16 volts. As you can see, the new ones are smaller thanks to advances in technology. Both, I believe both do have the polarity mark on positive. Well, okay. I thought the old ones had a polarity mark. Maybe you're just supposed to know that the middle pin's positive. Okay, so there's no polarity mark on the old ones. However, the new ones do have a polarity mark. It is the stripe on the positive side, although it also has a little plus sign. And then, if anyone wants to see, I am actually using 25 volt rated tantalum caps so that hopefully they will be better behaved over their lifetime than the ones that IBM originally spec'd. In other words, I am installing what IBM probably should have. And I am also going to install them in a way so that the center pin is positive, and I like to install them such that the marking on the capacitor is visible. That way, when I go to double check it, then it will be easy to read. So in that case, I'm going to put the marking on the outside of the board. That way it's easy to read in the presence of these other components around it. For the other pins, well, generally I'll like put the board so that the component label is right side up. So there we go. We got C6. And kind of, so if you're looking at C6 right side up, you can see the mark. Doesn't really matter, no, as long as you get the positive pin in the center hole. Well, okay. So I started a trend. So that's one way. And then if I've got any other capacitors that face the same way, then I'll generally put them in the same way on these boards, unless, like, one way would cause the marking to be blocked. Just that way, if I want to double check after I get it installed, then I can clearly see where the stripe is. It'll still look relatively neat, but it will also enable an inspection after I'm done, just before I power it up. I think on this card, it does make it fairly easy. Also, I believe on these caps, the longer lead is positive. I don't know that that's necessarily true on all caps, but it might be. But anyways. Now, did I need to necessarily replace all these caps? Possibly not. If I'd really wanted to look, I could have probably looked to see which ones were on 12 volts and only replaced those. There we go. This one here, we'll put that way because then I can see the marking. All right, let me count. I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, I've got 7. So I removed 7 and I've installed 7. All right, very good. Just kind of trying to come up with a neat way to keep them looking right, despite the fact that I didn't want to pay the premium price for 3-legged tantalum capacitors, because you actually can still get 3-legged tantalum capacitors in the 10 microfarad size. Just the two drawbacks are, if I remember the price correctly, they're like $4 or $5 a piece in quantity of 1. And they're still only rated at 16 volts, so we would have the problem that they're really not rated high enough for taking into account surge currents on the 12-volt rail. So instead, I used the 2-pin variety. They were much more affordable, especially at quantity of 100. In fact, I think in quantity of 100, they were like a tenth the price than quantity 1 of a 3-legged one. Even in quantity 1, I think they were like a fraction of the price. I think they might have been like talking like $1 versus like $4.50 or something. I don't remember. It was a while since I looked them up. So for sure, if I was restoring someone's IBM PC or XP and they wanted it to look factory when I was done, then sure, I would be more than glad to use 3-legged tantalum capacitors if they asked. But, well, one drawback would be I'd end up probably having to charge them like $100 for capacitors, because that would be about what they would cost me. Whereas capacitors to replace them with the 2-legged variety, I think you need about 20 for a whole XT, including like the peripheral cards. So yeah, you can 20 times like 40 or 50 cents a piece. Well, that's like $10. All right, so I've soldered one leg of each. I'm just double checking that the alignment looks good. Because at least the one thing I am doing is making sure that I've got the capacitors nicely flush against the board. But it kind of makes it a little bit harder to tell. I mean, sure, you're probably going to see the empty pin if you look, but at a cursory glance, especially if you got the card installed, you're going to look and see that, oh, yep, that looks normal. Because if you're looking at it this angle, the way I put the caps in, the only ones where you can kind of see that something's up are the two that are horizontal to the plane of the card. So you can see that, yeah, something's up there. This other one, though, the card's installed. Yeah, this one down here, it's kind of hidden with the card installed. So really, the only reason to go three-legged is because you're doing a restoration, and you want to get the closest thing to the originals. But actually, I would contend that probably replacing them with two-legged capacitors is probably okay. And the thing is, if you ever sold your XT to someone in the future and they really, really cared about it, well, they could always replace those capacitors again themselves. Now, granted, if three-legged capacitors, if I ever caught wind that they were going out of production, then would I buy some just so I had them on hand if someone wanted to actually pay me for a restoration? Sure, I probably would. But at the moment, if someone asked me to do it with those specific ones, sure, I'll do it. But, well, I'd have to charge them for the caps. Otherwise, just use the two-legged ones, and if someone in the future really cares, they can replace them at their leisure. Kind of one of those. I don't see a downside because you can always put the three-legged ones in later if necessary. But you get a working system with either type, and you can have fun with it. Not like the three-legged capacitors give more enjoyment than the two-legged ones. They just cost more. So I'm of the opinion that there's no downside. But there's an upside because you can offer a recapping and get it recapped. It's usable. Quite honestly, these two-legged ones might last longer than the three-legged ones because they're actually rated for 25 volts, so they have more headroom for surges that might happen when you turn electronics on and off. So that right there might be an excellent added bonus to using. Right. Now all I'm doing is I'm just quickly kind of, sometimes when I cut the legs off, I cut them a little close to the solder joint. And I like to just touch the soldering iron on real quick to round it. Actually, I'm going to add a little flux for this step just to make sure. And then I'll clean it off the board. 1, 2, There we go. Let's start the guesses as to when I'm going to manage to knock over the thing of isopropyl alcohol. I'm just gonna remove the flux. All right. Basically, what I wanted to do was give it a clean with the Q-tip to try to get as much flux off as possible, and then I figured, well, I'll clean the back of the board. I don't see any factory marks or anything on the back of the board that I want to try to preserve. Now I'm going to on a board like this, if I did see like some factory stamp, I will attempt to preserve it, but sometimes necessary cleaning, well, takes ink off depending on what type of ink it is. But at least in this case, I don't see any ink stamps on the back, so there we go. Got that. There's a spot on the board I'm going to inspect. Isopropyl alcohol from cleaning. Put paper towel down. One spot I wanted to check was right here. Okay, that just looks like some uneven solder mask, I think. I don't think that's anything to worry about. I think it's just uneven solder mask. All right, I'm not going to worry about that for now. I did, though, want to take a moment to deoxit that slot edge connector. It looks a bit grimy. Ah, that looks better. This one side on the back kind of looked a bit grimy. Now that looks nice. I guess let's go ahead and do this side as well. Of course, the Axis is not a sponsor, but is used by fine YouTubers everywhere. In fact, I'm about convinced that Deoxit doesn't need to sponsor much of any YouTubers because there's so many YouTubers that just use it that I don't think they really need to sponsor anybody. They could just use the free advertising. Of course, I am somewhat curious about this card. I'm trying to think if I've got a computer that I can put it in real quick. Wondering if kind of the curiosity of testing it now versus waiting, but I think we'll just have to wait. I can't think of a computer I have real quick to test it in. But anyways, there we go. Freshly recapped color graphics card that was pulled out of a computer that probably never belonged in. Not why I bought the computer. Well, okay, maybe I did buy the computer because I wasn't sure what graphics card was in it. And it didn't look right for the computer, but anyways, happened to be a CGA card, and we'll put it in a more appropriate computer. But at least it's got a nice clean card edge slot and recapped, and it looks clean on the back. The only thing that I may do at some point is pull the bracket off and give it a little rust treatment, but it's not bad enough to do that now. So we will just let that slide. Well, I guess maybe I could put a little bit of contact cleaner in the DB9 connector. If I spray it in from the back, will that travel through? I think it will. Come on, I can spray it. Okay, and we'll give the I'll even give the RCA jack a little clean. There we go. All right, little contact cleaner in the ports. And I'll find my DB9 connector here. Get a few test insertions. Yep, that feels pretty good. All right, I'm pretty sure the connector looks good. The board looks good. All right, so I'll set this over to the side. And we will take a look at the planer or motherboard or system board or whatever the name du jour is. All right. So part of me would like to test this before I recap it, but part of me knows that these caps just like to go off without warning. So let's see here. How many do I need to replace? I think I'm going to actually put a red mark on them as I count them so that I don't lose count potentially. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11? Well, is it 11? Let's see any ones that are hidden. Oh, wait a minute. I should have known better. 12, 13, 14, 15. 16. 16 sounds right. Yeah, okay, yeah. 16 on the 16 on the motherboard. 7 on the CGA card. Which brings us to 23. And yeah, and then I think the parallel card and the floppy card each have 1. Which meant that, yeah, I ordered 30 to do the last one I recapped and used 25, I believe. Or I used 26 and I have 4 left. No, I think I used 25. There we go. Okay, so that sounds right. I think there's 16. All right, so the back side of this board does have something on it, and I'll just probably go over the whole bottom of the board with isopropyl. I think to make this easy, I'm going to go ahead and remove these standoffs. But I will keep them because these are probably original IBM standoffs. And I will need to put them to put this in the case. Which, if anyone was watching Dave's stream and wondering what I was doing some rust removal work on, it was actually the IBM XT case that I bought off eBay and showed off like a month or 2 ago. So I took the Dremel to it and I ground down the rust spots that were under the power supply because that was my limited area of work. I just wanted to be able to put a power supply in the case. I'll deal with the rest of the rest of the rust is minor, and I'll deal with it come spring. But I wanted to at least be able to put the power supply and the motherboard in the case and not have to worry about potential effects of the rust on the power supply. So anyways, yeah, grabbed down the rust, took some galvanizing spray and painted it with that, and if we get far enough, I may actually install this in the case. But first, we'll bench test it. I suspect we may run out of time for actually putting it in the case. All right. Cat seems to be slow. Cat, are you still there? All right, we got one tantalum capacitor out. All right, next one. Let me make sure that YouTube's not misbehaving on me here. Let's my videos. I forgot to open. I usually open up the live stream control panel in the background, and I forgot to do that tonight. So let me go and do that. Okay, it's just a slow chat night. No worries. Just like to double check. YouTube chat's not broken. All right. I may need to. Add some solder there. It wasn't really wanting to flow. Oh, let's try. I got two of the legs loose. Let me just add some heat to this one here. See if I can rock it out. There we go. Two. And okay. That's large ground plane there. All right. Let's see if I can clear the view. Harwick. There we go. That's doing the trick. Somewhat. May have to change. Getting the impression this there's something on this. Where's just a big ground plane? Could be that. Trying to clear that via. Although I mean, I don't need to. I can always use the other two through holes. But all right. I think this is why I. gently preheat the board in the area of this capacitor. Preheated the board gently. Enough. All right, fine. Oh, all right. I guess we'll call the two vias clear to win. I'll go ahead and start putting the new caps in as I go. After all, I do have a pile of caps, so I can count how many ever moved. And I put a red stripe on the ones that were in this board. There we go. 2 down, 14 to go. Weirdly twisted ceramic there. All right, don't think the legs are broken. Don't need to do anything about it. All right, here we go. Got one on the outer perimeter of the board here. Right here. I think first I will actually. Nope, that's the only one in this general area. So I'm going to lightly preheat the board. Probably a good enough light preheating. One of the vias is already clear. My new solder. And the two vias that are not clear. Ah, yeah, oh, hey Dave, welcome. Definitely plenty of heat in this board to yeah, it feels like what the fuck? Have a little blob of solder holding it down on the other side? No, not that I can see. Interesting. Leg that bent? Not that I can tell. There we go. 3. 3 out. All right. I'll go ahead and. Oh, hey Jack, welcome. Kind of removing them and installing them as I go. There we go. Hopefully, theoretically, if I get the old pins out and can get the new tantalum capacitor in fast enough, then hopefully the ground planes will have retained enough of that heat to make soldering it back to at least. There we go. Got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 13 to go. Right, I think the next one I'm going to get is the one that is right here because it's kind of in the middle of the board and at a spot where I would be likely to forget about it. And I am going to also, it's like about the only one in the general area, so it's a spot that I can preheat. Because when I get over here, there's like 4 in a line, so I'll probably preheat a slightly larger area of the board and get all 4 out at the same time. But this one's kind of a tantalum on its own. There we go. That's probably good enough. Also, just in the hopes of avoiding issues. Go ahead and add fresh solder here. And again, we have two pins that desoldered easily, and one that be a pain in the rear. All right, I think I got all three loose. There we go, and they are all three out. Yay! And now put a new tantalum capacitor in its place. For those of you that have just joined, the center pin is positive. And I am just replacing them with two-legged capacitors for cost effective. There is a huge price difference between the two-legged capacitors and the three-legged ones. I don't like the way that one looks. I'm going to re add a little more heat to the board too, just to make sure we get a good solid solder joint. Oh, Nelson Figueroa, thanks for subscribing. There we go. All right. Sometimes with these boards with large ground planes, a little extra heat is required. So there we go. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 little tantalum capacitors replaced. Ah, ah, ah. All right, let's see here. We've got 4 between the memory. There's 10 left. So we've got 4 between the memory. We've got 4 between the slots. Or 5 between the slots. 4 down here and 1 up there. And then we've got 3 above the slots. We also have IBM's warning, no copying permitted, and we all know how that worked in the industry. I think that pretty much was IBM telling the clone makers, hey, copy me. Copy me if you dare. And they apparently all said, yes, yes, we dare. I'm going to put little marks on the board. Help me know which ones are the tantalums. Because all these capacitors have spots for 3 legs, but there's only 1 row of tantalums, the rest are ceramic. And with all the pins in the area of the board, a little more deceptive than you might think. Adding a little bit of preheat to the board. Since I'm preheating a larger area, I will go for a little longer than if I was spot preheating. Just basically to let the copper ground plane come up to some temperature so that more of my desoldering heat actually goes to the solder joint. Go a little longer. So if you like me repairing these old computers for December, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any exciting updates on this computer. Because one live stream an entire XT computer does not make. Actually, there's a couple of the original parts I would like to source and haven't managed to find them at the right price yet. I think I would actually like to get one of the original IBM floppy controllers, and heck, maybe even a IBM parallel and serial card. Not because they were better, but it feels very IBM XT-ish. And who knows, if I can come across a Seagate hard drive at the right price, I might attempt a regret for some spinning rust. Or at the very least, I'd like to at least make the faceplate look the part, even if I'm solid stating the part. Also, thinking about taking some open source designs of some expansion cards and mashing them together in my own multi expansion card design. Although this really isn't the target XT for that, but stay tuned for more details. But if you're wondering why in the world I might want to do such a weird thing, remember, not all the XT, well, I guess not all the XT clones also had 8 slots. here if I can't. All right. Still kind of not exactly willingly coming out. All right. I'm going to try something here. Due to the amount of copper around these capacitors, I'm going to try to very carefully use some low melt solder. Carefully part being the I want to try to keep the low melt solder to the pins that I'm trying to remove. Make clean up easier. Now, theoretically, I might be able to get a grip on the capacitor and solder will stay molten long enough. Of course, so close to other things, I'm having trouble doing that. Other thing, I can wick this blow melt out. Whatever is in the via with it will also come out. And then hopefully the caster will just now be removable without any drama. There we go. All right, there's one. Yeah, should be nice. All right, that looks like that's working. Just wick it out, and then again, I think it's just there's so many traces and copper planes so close to these memory chips, requiring a lot of heat. And the solder might be slightly oxidized. But low melt solder, kind of overcoming that, and doesn't require as much heat. And so now, there we go. Another capacitor out. Yeah, I'll clean that area of the board. That area of the board is looking just a little bit crusty, so no electrolytic capacitors on the board, so it's not electrolytic capacitor leakage crustiness, but I don't know. Maybe something spilled on the board, got on the board while it was in storage. Maybe the solder that was used on this board wasn't quite as optimal. Two pins free. This one is not. So, wick. capacitor. Not quite loose. That one is loose. All right. I can tell which. Actually, let me just do there. Add more flux there. Add more low melt. Try again. My chance. Okay, third one's out. Fourth one's out. All right, so now I got the 4 out around those memory chips. Maybe clean a little bit. Board's kind of crusty. Inspect things better. I think that's fun. All right. Oh, my carefully created pile of tantalum capacitors is now two. Just my way of making sure I'd removed all the ones. All right, that was one of those. Oh, whatever. Trying to keep them in a pile so I could count and make sure I got all of them, but whatever. All right. One. Two. The center pin is positive. Just lining up the positive hole, and I'm just kind of trying to keep the capacitors balanced as I put them back in the board. So they look like there's at least some pattern to putting them back in, even though there's extra hole. Trying to keep them aligned the same way on the board, so that all the tantalums facing the same direction, pretty much aligned in the same set of holes. Except if there's any spot where if I do that, it'll make, or if there's any spot where breaking that rule would let me more easily double check that the capacitors are in the correct way, then I'll break the rule. But hi, Retro Setup Lab. Setup Lab says greetings from Brazil. Greetings. Joined in the middle of the recapping of an IBM XE motherboard. Trust the original tantalum capacitors. Or they can betray me. I am replacing them. Didn't even check the board, or power up the board first because, well, it can go without warning. Even though I checked the board and there were no shorts, that's not to say that one of the tantalums might have not shorted when it received power. Placing them with the same capacitance value, but 25 volt rated instead of 16 volt rated. So the originals are 16 volt rated, and I went to 25 volts because that is actually the proper headroom for a solid tantalum capacitor on a 12 volt rail. And although some of these are on 5 volt rails, it's okay to use 25 volt ones on those too. Given the characteristics of solid tantalum capacitors, there's no harm in going up to 25 volts on all of them. Not enough of a extra headroom scenario where you got to really worry about the drawbacks of doing that. But I don't know what those drawbacks are. I'm not an electrical engineer. I just know that I've been told that, yeah, you can use 25 volts on all these and you're fine. IBM's choice to go with 16 volt capacitors is probably why, especially this day and age, the tantalums are prone to making their presence known, because it's just not enough of a headroom for a 12 volt rail. All right. We've got 3 capacitors in this area of the board. And actually, I think I am going to do a mild preheating here. Because they are the capacitors I need to replace are here, here, and here. And then I'll have the 5 between the slots to go. Maybe someday I'll have a fancy board preheater, but that was not. This is one of those boards where being able to preheat it might actually be beneficial. I'm finding these capacitors at the edge of the board are a bit easier to remove than the ones closer to the middle. Like this one. Alright, I was able to desolder that one without issue. Also possible that whatever voltage rail that one was on, there was less copper under it because it's a lower amperage rail. Or maybe I was able to more effectively preheat the edge of the board. I think that one actually. Yep. I think that one actually. There we go. That one's out. And oh, and that one is. There we go. And that one's out. Cool. Maybe there was something on the board. And that other. Down on the other part of the board. Or just more copper because lots of data and address lines down near the RAM chips. Alright. Let's get 3 more capacitors. Alright. So I think for these ones, since they are on this edge, I will put them in this way. That way I can see the markings more easily than if they were facing the other way. The mark would be blocked by the slot. And then for this one here, I'll do this. Again, that way so the labeled side of the capacitor is the least obstructed. There we go. Again, for convenience for when I double check it. Make sure those look, oops, they look good. Grabbing the board in a way to bend a. Oh yeah, those look reasonably good. All right, I like that. Second leg. And I'll put the leads, and then I'll. And then nice and round. Actually, I think it was 110. I don't think I really got enough butter on it. There we go. All right. Those look really nice. All right. Now we have 5 more tantalum caps to go. I don't know that I am going to finish in time. All right. Let's see if I can't maybe remove them. 2, 3, 4. Red marks are just to help me find them on the other side of the board. So actually, I think what I'll do is I will remove these caps because I think they're just filter caps for the slots. And then since I will have basically disarmed the board, so to speak, and because it's getting late. Okay, well, we'll see how long it takes to get these caps out. If they come out as easily as those last 3, then moot point, I can replace them real quick. they take too long, then what I'll do is we'll test this board without those caps in, but to see what it does. Because the only card I'm going to put in it is the CGA card. And I suspect it's got enough capacitance on it to work mostly well enough. I mean, it won't cause, I don't think it'll cause either harm. And with only one card in the system, I think it'll at least work well enough to see if it powers up. Because I'd at least like to show something at the end of the stream for its state. Kind of feeling bad that when I worked on the portable PC, and I think I got the thing recapped just in time to end the stream, so we didn't actually get to test it on the same stream that I recapped it. So tonight we'll see if I can't maybe test it. Even briefly. In fact, I think one of these is probably the negative 12-volt filter cap for the PCI or ISA slots. Fun fact, you didn't know that there were PCI slots on the XT. Well, I didn't know it either. Apparently my brain knows something more than the world knows. It's called It Be Late. Imagine a world where we still used 8088 processors, but they had way more address lines. Hey, Thomas, welcome back. Got these last 5 capacitors. And they're not wanting to cooperate. A lot of ground plane in this area of the board. Right, this one desoldered. And the other 4 Add a little more preheat. Okay, let's see if any of those are going to budge. Nope. 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 And nope. All right. Let's see if I can tell which pins are still soldered. All right. This looks. This is an XT. And I am naturally really want to use low melt solder, given how close there are some other pins. maybe. There's that one. I'll clean up the vias because they got low melt solder in them. That one. All right, let me clean up that glob of low melt right now before I forget about it. Not too worried about if some low melt solder stays on the board because it's not like this system's going to get hot enough to desolder components. And besides, when I resolder them with actual leaded solder, that's going to raise the temperature that it melts at. Yep. That should be fine. Luckily, that glob of low melt solder. Okay, good. Those vias. Those are. I tried to desolder pins that didn't have any caps in them. Oh well. All right, let's see here. That is 2. All right, let's see if I can get the. All right, looks like I'll probably do probably a test without replacing these caps. Put these out, making less of them. There we go. Very nice. Got 3 of them out. All right, one more to go. Then we will have removed all the bad cap. You know, maybe I will just go ahead and drop a couple caps in real quick. Drop them in. There we go. And they're out. All right. So before I do that, let me just take a look at one. On this board where I started desoldering the wrong spot. Made the solder look ugly. There's no component that was installed here. Just made the solder ugly, so I'm going to or not. All right. I'm just going to ignore it. All right. So, just go ahead and drop in a couple caps here. Get them in. All right. Center is positive. Thomas says, "You trying to get my favorite tantalums out?" Yes, I am. And the cool thing is, because I bought 100 of them last time, I have plenty more caps for more IBMs. It wasn't for a fact of how much of a pain in the rear these are to work on getting the caps out. I would probably say, I'll recap your IBMs using better rated tantalums. But quite honestly, I think I'm going to try working on a few more of these that are either mine or someone who is very understanding, because I don't have a board preheater. And I'm getting the impression every time I work on one of these that a board preheater would probably be a very good investment before I really start to try to work on these. So please don't send me your XTs yet. But someday in the future, quite possibly, I might work on your IBM if you ask me really nicely. I might even give you a really good price. Because I bought capacitors in bulk. Unless you insist on the three-legged tantalums, then you're not going to get a really nice price, because I won't get a really nice price. Yeah, I'm replacing them all with 25-volt tantalums. I'm not even going to... Because, yeah, for a solid tantalum capacitor, they should have been 25-volt for the 12-volt rails. And all I can think of is IBM was planning obsolescence. I mean, technically, in the short term, yeah, you could get away with it because, in all likelihood, you probably could, and apparently they did get away with it in the short term. And well, for the rare unit that had a Tantalum go under warranty, well, they just replaced the board and refurbed the one they got back from the customer. Probably what they did. Yeah, 12 volt is there for comms. It shorts the PSU when they fail. Yep, these were no, they're 5 volt RAM chips, but there's 12 volts for ISA cards, and I think really the 12 volt power is for ISA cards because there's no serial chips on the XT board. I mean, and floppy drive motors, hard drive motors. Those would have used 12 volts too, but those wouldn't get 12 volts from the motherboard. But the thing is, the cap being on the voltage rail, even if you don't have something plugged in, I mean, it's going to see voltage on the rail. So if you've got a voltage spike on the 12 volt rail, even if you have no cards plugged into the motherboard, well, your Tantalum caps would see it. I'll just yank the jumper off the board. Although, luckily, in this case, there's only one place it could go. All right. Yeah, it was the Apple III that had 12 volt RAM. I I think that Apple III, or at least some revisions, did have 12 volt memory. It was like really weird memory. I'm sure Joe could tell you all about it. Joe could probably tell you more than you ever wanted to know about Apple III 12 volt RAM. All right, there we go. Should be 16 tantalum capacitors replaced. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Excellent. 16 tantalum capacitors are placed. That is 16. Well, in all likelihood, there's only like a few that are on the 12-volt rail that would have been candidates for an actual smoke test. All right, I'm going to give it a quick clean. I'm going to give it a quick clean over the entire bottom of the board because there is something on the bottom of the board. Not really coming off easily, so I'm wondering if it's like ink or something. Oh, actually it is coming off. Just not as quickly as I'd hope. And actually, it might actually be ink. Again, there's no manufacturing stamps on the bottom, so I'm not erasing any history. Just gonna give it a nice little clean. There we go. All right, let me let that sit for a moment. In fact, actually, I'll let it sit on paper towel for a moment. There we go. There is the IBM motherboard. Oh, no, I already turned that off. All right. There we go. So we got motherboard. We've got the CGA card. Both are recapped. All right. Let me find a box to use as a motherboard prop. We will use this nice cardboard box here that I got from an eBay seller. I'm going to, in the interest of, oh, looks like oh, well, I was about to say, in the interest of time, I'm just going to grab the AT power supply that's sitting beside me. Only realized there was no AT supply sitting beside me. I moved it. All right. We will instead use the chonkety chonk power supply here that I tested on a previous Wheel of Regrets. It is at least working well enough for now that it will get the privilege of powering the IBM here. All right, blacks go in the middle. P8, P9. All right, excellent. Let's see here. We will plug the power in. All right, let me see where to put the CGA card. CGA card is right here. All right, we'll plug that in here for no rhyme or reason. All right, I am going to plug both the composite out as well as the TTL out. I am going to start with the capture on the RCA out because it's the easier one to get to. Yes, there was a Wheel of Regrets tonight. All right. I guess without further ado, let me apply power to the... No, Apple, I don't want the update yet. All right, there we go. So, all right. Smoke test in 3, 2, 1. All right, we don't have smoke. Oh, there we go. Aha! All right, we got a 301 error, but I think that's keyboard. Yeah, Jack says, oh, good, no actual smoke. Yes, I believe 301 is a keyboard error because I don't have an XP keyboard handy. John, oh, hi, John, welcome. John says, nice bend on that CGA card you got there. Yeah. All right, so we have a 301 and a 601 error. Thomas says, no ISA Trident. Oh, I've got the ISA Trident, like, right here. But the thing is, I recapped the CGA card, so I had to test it. Thomas Armstrong says, beep slowly. Oh, I forgot to plug in a speaker. Jack says, lol, of course there's an ISA Trident within reach. Yeah, right here. Okay, so I'm using the CGA card because I recapped it tonight. The reason why it's got a bend in it is because this CGA card was installed in an Emerson XT clone that the case is like, the case was too short for the card, like by like a millimeter or two. So the card is warped because someone jammed it in the case, despite the fact that it was really just too long for the case. So yeah, it's got a warp in it. But it is my actual IBM CGA card, so it's going in the XT when I rebuild it. I'm hoping the warp won't be a showstopper. But we have a video image. That is awesome. Thomas says, I need a keyboard and a floppy disk drive because of the switch settings. Yes. All right. Let's see here. Do I have an XT keyboard? Where did I put the XT keyboard? I need to just break down and buy another XT keyboard or an adapter or something. Anyways, though, we're at like 19 after 12. So I am going to call this a successful test. I just wanted to see if the thing powered up. We've got appropriate errors for having no keyboard and no floppy drive. So, oh, hi, Mike's Future Retro. Welcome. Yes. You've been sick all weekend. Well, I hope you get better. Woke up to say hello and good night. Well, good night, Mike. Hope you get to feeling better. And, yeah. So, anyways, I just wanted to give this a quick test because I felt bad the last time I worked on a similar computer. I got it all recapped. Don't worry about it, Mike. I commonly get called Jason by mistake, so I roll with it. Anyways, I felt bad because when I worked on the IBM portable personal computer, it took so long. Well, I work with a Jason too, Mike. Short, funny story. I went where I went to college. The mail clerk, for some reason, she called me Jason for the first 3 years, and then I think it was the first time I saw her, my last semester. She took me aside and said, "I'm sorry for calling you Jason. I I think she was getting me mixed up with someone else, or she knew a Jason or something. But she apologized for not realizing sooner that I was Justin, not Jason. I was like, it's totally fine. I mean, she was quite cool, despite the fact even then I got lots of packages. You know where those packages were from. eBay did exist back then too. So, anyways, yeah, Jason is like seemingly the number one name I get called when someone can't remember my real name. Oh, and Mike says, I work with Jason and I've called him Justin. Well, anyways, I do work with a Jason, but no, it'd be the mail clerk at college that called me Jason all the time. Thomas says, you can blame it on bit memory errors like I have all the time. Yeah. Yeah, we'll blame bit memory errors. Anyways, I felt bad when after the personal PC or the portable PC stream where I'd recapped it, we ran out of time and I didn't test it. So I thought I would at least get to the point where we did an initial power up and show that it worked. We did. This is actually the first time I'd powered up this board because of those tantalum capacitors. I think I had tested the CGA card before. I think I risked it, even though it had tantalums on it, because it wasn't a foregone conclusion any of them were on 12 volts. But yeah. Oh, yeah, you like my shirt? Well, at work, it was Goodie Day. It's like the day where everyone in engineering that cares to participate brings in something to share. And I decided that since it was Goodie Day, I was going to wear it's kind of my ugly Christmas sweater t-shirt. So anyways, I was like, it's Goodie Day. I'm going to wear this shirt to work. And I was not alone. There were a couple other people that wore their ugly sweaters, or well, it was actually almost a little bit. No, actually, in the office, there were spots in the office where it was cold, so they were probably right in wearing their ugly sweater. But yeah, I wore my red fleece jacket and then my ugly Christmas sweater T-shirt. So it was Goodie Day. So I was like, why not? I'm going to wear this shirt because it's my chance to wear it. And of course, tomorrow's the site holiday party, so I'll get even more food. Although I will have to look to see if I have another Christmas T-shirt that's. I think I do, but I don't know where it's gone. This one I luckily found it at the last minute this morning to put it on. Which I guess if I had to pick if I was going to wear the shirt for Goodie Day or the holiday party, well, I think wearing it to Goodie Day was my choice. Yeah, Jack says, haha, eBay regrets even in college. You betcha. Anyways, so we tested it. We got it recapped. We tested it. It powers up. The CGA card works. The motherboard seems to work. We'll plug in a floppy drive. So we'll test this card another time. I mean, it looks to be in good shape. I mean, I guess there is one thing we could do real quick. We could at least make sure that I can turn the system on and all right, we'll at least make sure it passes the smoke test. Even though I don't have a floppy drive handy or the keyboard handy, but anyways. Well, so far it seems to pass the smoke test, but unfortunately, without a keyboard to pass the keyboard error. Oh, wait. If I plug in a floppy drive. Wait a minute. Maybe if I plug a floppy drive in, we might. Okay, I'm almost willing to. Now I'm curious. Okay. Maybe this is me realizing that another few minutes is probably not going to hurt when I actually fall asleep in the grand scheme of things because of the excitement of Goodie Day. All right, there are a few mildly bent pins on the floppy drive connector. No doubt, probably because the card was probably slightly roughly handled. Let's face it. Depending on where the card came from, some of the people that scrap PCs for parts don't necessarily realize that their speed does not help the person that's ultimately going to buy the card, but I digress. Pins are mostly. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's why it won't go on. Huh. That floppy cable has a key pin in it. Alright, well, let me see if I can find another floppy cable that doesn't have a key pin in it. Here, real quick. Alright, well, I guess I can, if I'm bothering to do this, I can grab the keyboard. Because, looks like I'm going to have to go to my floppy cable stash. Alright, let's do this. I might as well. Alright. So, here we go. This is my German XT keyboard. But don't worry, it did not actually hit the ground. Even though I did knock it off the bench. I did unplug the data cable though, so let me plug that back in real quick. Alright. Let's do this. Alright. Let's put this here where I can still plug the keyboard in. Here. Okay. Got the floppy cable for my stash. It does not have a key pin. And, alright, that installed. No problem. Alright, so now I can plug the GoTech in. Alright. I need an eBay 8087. Well, now, I don't know that I need an eBay 8087 because I think I may have an 8087. I'm not going to just go to eBay to order something that I already have. Unless the one I already have doesn't work. Okay. So I got a keyboard. I got a floppy drive, although I don't know if it's... Alright, let me see if I've... Alright, well, it seems to be happy about the keyboard. Now, the one thing is, I don't know if this is a 360K disk image or not, so this may not boot. Should be able to get to IBM Basic, though, yes. Oh. Actually, there we go. Look. Oh, sorry. There we go. We are in DOS 3.3. And now, the other thing I was curious about. Now, now that's the RCA output. Let me see if I can find the, actually, I think it's that input. Oh, there we go. And that's the RGB to HDMI right there. And I guess I hit the menu button by accident. There we go. And there's the RGB to HDMI output, crystal clear. So all this is an just an MS-DOS 3.3 disk. I don't have any like utilities on it. Anyway, it's late though. Well, yeah. So anyways, we can boot to DOS. That is great. I think this XT will be an awesome addition to the basement for those times where you just need to 4.77 megahertz. Now, I will go digging. I think I have an 8087 from that I actually I probably did buy it on eBay. I bought it on eBay like 25 years ago as a collectible. There's a chance it still works because actually I found that a number of the processors I bought that I have been able to test since that I bought 25 years ago as collectible work. So, anyways, yeah, I'll probably have to open that power supply and test it. But anyways, yeah, I got the power. So the power supply works. I probably need to inspect it for refas though. CGA cards recap. The controller card, it works. I'll have to get a battery for it so we can try out the real-time clock. Yeah, I actually have a bunch of games on a bootable compact flash card. If I can find the compact flash card. When I set up the portable PC for my coworker, I kept a copy of the disk image because there was nothing personal on it. But I wanted to keep a copy just so if something happened to it, I could reload it. So I've got a copy of all the games I put on their portable personal computer. Yeah, I need to check the electrolytics too. I don't know if that's an actual IBM power supply though, so I may still check it for refas. But anyways, yeah, I still have all the games that I put on their portable personal computer, which is basically an XT with a built-in Amber monitor. So we'll have to check those out sometime. But anyways, so Thursday, we are going to look at the Intel Overdrive processor in this box here. It's got some bent pins. There's a broken pin even. I think the broken pin may be inconsequential, but we'll find that out Thursday. We'll see if I can't get those pins straightened back out and see if that Pentium Overdrive processor works. And if we have extra time after that, then we may come back to the IBM XT. Otherwise, I'll queue that up for later in the month. So, but anyways, yeah, that'll be Thursday. So, I'm getting tired now. So don't forget to smash that like button if you like it when I get these old cool computers up and running. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the future episodes. And yeah, why not tell a friend? Because that's how the channel grows. And with that, I'm going to, yeah, you're welcome, Jack. Jack says, thanks for streaming. Yeah, of course. Anyways, I hope you all have a great rest of your day or evening or night, as the case may be. It is getting quite late. I do have to work tomorrow. So with that, I am going to make sure my finger is on the correct button here. And wish you all a great rest of your day. Take care and God bless. Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon. And by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you've liked what you've seen, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or live stream. And as always, thank you for all your support. I hope to see you next time. And until then, take care.